All right. You're back here on the program. What I want to do now is kind of share you some of the highlights of 2013 in terms of the conversations we've had in the red chair, but kind of wrap it under a certain theme. We've had lots of people who have made us laugh and even made us cry. We endeavor to bring you the sort of conversation that can make you think, oh, I get it. Okay, maybe I can do something differently in my life, or maybe I can be about helping others in some way, or helping yourself, whether it's Dan Savage or Eve Ensler. So many different people over the past year have sat in that red chair and shown us kind of a little pathway out of the darkness into a better version of ourselves. Here are some of the highlights. Responsibility for the gay community. And I know the coming out thing is so personal, but is there a bigger picture here?
Yeah, you have a responsibility to be out. I think you have a moral obligation to be out.
You do, okay.
That means not being out is a moral failing, but nobody can compel you to be out. I think if you don't want to be out for whatever reason, you should own that as a moral failing.
But it's pretty heavy to hear that, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be heavy. People are dying. Like, people are murdered every day all over the world because they're LGBT, and nothing lessens the chances of people being harmed for being LGBT than other people knowing they know people who are queer.
You know, I was thinking about sex education, which I'm obsessed with right now. Because if we're going to change a rape culture, we have to bring up boys and girls to know what sex is, what touch is. You know, I interview so many young teenagers, and so many boys have no idea what sex is. They don't have a clue. Girls don't know. So they get together in sexual misery, right? Somebody jumps on somebody, and the girl goes, that's what sex is? Oh my God, that's a nightmare, I don't want it. And it begins the pattern. Yeah. We teach people math, right? We teach people science. We assume that they're not born with that life skill of knowing. Why don't we teach people what sex is?
The first time I overheard some rap lyrics through the headphones, and I turned into my father. And I looked at my daughter, and I said, excuse me, what was that? And I was hearing language that, it wasn't offensive because there was swearing going on. But the lyrics that are created today that seem to be a part of this peer consciousness where the cred, the street cred of remaining true to what you would say hanging around with your friends is problematic only when it is demeaning and negative towards the gender.
I mean, back in the day, people were always like, if you don't get your nose done, you're never going to make it in this business. I was like, but my nose is so groovy, and I love my nose. and I want to breathe and be real. And so I hung in there with my nose. I've done okay.
You've done fine. This is the fight that has to be had on the front lines, isn't it?
We started a campaign, we being the Special Olympics, about 5 years ago now, and they came up with a campaign called Spread the Word to End the Word. And look, it's not about telling people how to talk. We need actors to tell us how to talk like we need a hole in the head. All I'm advocating is just to sprinkle a little compassion in the way we use certain language. The problem is there's no consequence for using the R word. If you use bad language about a lot of different groups, blacks, Jews, gays, Italians, there's a consequence. There's a tax for the language that you're using. Right. So you might want to tread lightly. There's no tax with our population for using the R word, and not as it's targeted at people with special needs, but just in the common nomenclature is when it's twice as insidious. And so what it does is it passes on a negative stigma. Mm-hmm. It perpetuates a negative stigma, and it always references a group that is less than. That's not okay.
I just don't want the day to end. I sit there, and if it's a 14 or 16-hour day and we're exhausted and we're trying to do this, I want it to go on longer. I want you to give me some magic thing in this drink or put it in a piece of fruit and let me live for another 24 hours.
Right.
I am so aware that, you know, we're here for just a second and that you only get so many everythings, and then it's over. And those who believe that there's something else, fine, but there's not another this.
Right.
And I want this every second, and I can't get over it. I feel like I'm in a dream.
That's it right there. It's don't miss this wonderful opportunity.